The Carolina Hurricanes are looking to bounce back after back-to-back losses, including a very bad one against the Buffalo Sabers tonight against the Minnesota Wild. Find out what they need to do to come away with the win in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of the day. And today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code Locked On NHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Now, the Hurricanes coming off of two losses to the Dallas Stars and Buffalo Sabres, respectively. This is the second game of a second game of a 3-game road trip for the Hurricanes. And my biggest thing with this game is, man, I hope they got some rest because they looked gassed in that game against the Sabres. We talked about it in that recap. That was their third game in 4 nights, and it showed. Spencer Martin being like the one lone bright spot in that game. It was a rough outing for the Hurricanes, plain and simple. And I'm really hoping that they are able to bounce back in this game. Mistakes cost the Hurricanes the last time they played the Wild. That was a 5-2 loss at home back on January 21st. So man, they got to be on their A game tonight. Mistakes, have cost them games in recent memory. You look at both games against the Dallas Stars this month. Mistakes cost them in those, and Minnesota has been rolling as of late, so they're going to have to be on their A game. The one important thing of note here is obviously these games are in the past. Every game is its own thing, but they do have points in 11 of their last 12 road games over that stretch. This dates back to December 12th, kind of when they had their big turnaround, that players-only meeting. They are 9-1-2 on the road since December 12th. So they've been really good on the road. Even that game against Buffalo, which was really bad, they're still able to get a point. Yes, again, that came down to Spencer Martin pretty much. But they were able to get a point there. So, that gives me a little bit of hope going into this game that, okay, they can still play like absolute crap and get a point. So let's hope, they were able to get rested because I feel that was the biggest thing that cost them in that game against the Sabres is that they were exhausted. The wear and tear of, those 3 games and 4 nights that came back to bite them. It really did, and it showed, and Buffalo took advantage. And that's going to be something that the Wild probably saw. Like, oh man, this team's tired. Yeah, they're gonna have a little bit of rest time, in between those 2 games. But man, they're going to need to be rested. I will, as of recording, have not seen if they're going to do a morning skate or not. So we'll see what happens there. Brind'amour is obviously really good about deciding when he's going to use that stuff. It honestly wouldn't surprise me either way, because like, hey, let's give our guys some extra rest, and they could do that, or they could be like, okay, we really need to work on our offense. Because that was something that was pointed out by Marty Necas of something needed to change with the offense following that game against Buffalo, how they need to be better at getting pucks to the net and all that jazz. So that'll be interesting to see what their prep is going into this game. So that'll be something. Pyotr Kochetkov you imagine he'll probably be back in net tonight with Spencer Martin getting the last one, just kind of that rotation that they got. And he's a guy that, you're going to be fine going with him. Yeah, in that same time frame since December 12th, he's gone 11, 4, and 2 over that time span, a .930 save percentage. Um, and just in the month of February, he's only allowed 11 goals in the 7 games he has played. So he has been really good for the Hurricanes as of late. He's really stepped up into that number one goaltender role. With Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta both being out on the shelf with no idea when they'll be coming back. Um, so he's been really good for the Hurricanes as of late. And you look at some other guys that, yes, they didn't necessarily produce the way you would have wanted them to in the past couple games, but guy like Sebastian Aho, he's been it really just that top line of Aho, Svechnikov, and Voss. They've been really good. That third line of Martinook, Stahl, and Jarvis were really good. So those are going to be a couple of lines I'm looking at tonight to really play, key roles in bouncing back, getting back in the win column. Let's not have a 3-game skid. Let's just nip it in the bud right here at 2 games. So those are 2 lines I'm really going to be looking at tonight to carry a big load. Obviously Kochetkov, as I mentioned, I'm thinking he'll probably get the start tonight. We'll just have to wait and see on that. He's been really good for the Hurricanes. Then Spencer Martin's also been really good for the Hurricanes in what limited action we've seen him in. Again, he was the reason they even got a point in Buffalo. So can't necessarily go wrong with him either, but I feel like Kochetkov is probably the best bet here. He's going to be well rested. And he's kind of your number one goalie right now. Go back to him. And let's get it going. I think, honestly, you're probably going to need him tonight. Minnesota, again, has been rolling as of late. And, I think that, they are going to need it. They're going to need their best goalie tonight. And also, one thing I didn't mention, in that time frame where they have gone 9-2-1 away from home, they have a league high .833 points percentage over that time span, dating back to December 12th. So they are very good on the road, and let's hope that is something that continues tonight. But again, they're going to have their work cut out for them right now with Minnesota, because they have been playing really, really good hockey as of late, and we will dive into just how tough Minnesota how tough a challenge Minnesota is going to face for them tonight, right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, the midway point of the season is just happened, and regardless of where the Hurricanes are in the current standings, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like guys we just talked about, Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, Seth Jarvis, or Pyotr Kochetkov, will record more or less their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. And of course, you aren't just limited to Hurricanes players. Say you're a Stars fan, you can pick studs on that team or whoever your other favorite teams are. And to win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Canes fans. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code Locked On NHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Now, Minnesota is going to be a tough challenge for the Hurricanes. I'm reading from the Hurricanes right up here, and while in their last 10 games, they've gone 7-2-1. So they're rolling right now. They had that 10-goal game against Vancouver, who's, kind of been going back and forth with Boston as the number one team in the league this year. And that's wild. And no team in the Western Conference has scored more goals since the All-Star break than the Wild, scored 37. Uh, Kirill Kaprizov has 19 points in those last 10 games. So defense is going to be really, really important in this game. We saw how the Hurricanes were able to shut down the Stars a few nights ago. Yes, the Stars were able to do it right back, but they were able to play a very good defensive game and really limit what the Stars were able to do. You look at shots that were limited in that game. Let's go back and look at that. In first period, 7 shots each. In the second period, they held the Stars to 0 shots for like the first 11 and a half minutes of the game. Let's not talk about how Dallas scored on their first shot of the second. Um, and then, the third period, more the same. It was 8 combined shots between the both teams there. So, that is what they're going to need tonight, especially against Kaprizov. They're really going to have to shut down that Minnesota offense that has been rolling. They're going to have to do that. Kaprizov, again, is kind of going to be the number one guy they're going to have to be going after. Imagine Jacob Slavin's going to be having his eye on him tonight. So, that's going to be, you know, really important tonight. They have got to be on it defensively, and of course, offensively, they got to be on it as well. Because we've talked about it a lot, over these past couple games of how they need to get things going offensively. Again, Nate just after that game against Buffalo, saying that things need to change. They need to get better at getting pucks to the net. That's what they're going to have to do tonight. They really got to bounce back offensively and continue to be a shutdown defensive team. They've got to do that tonight if they want to avoid going down or losing their third straight game. That's going to be really, really important tonight. If they can do that, I think they'll be all right. Um, and again, I cannot stress enough, this team needs to be well rested because we saw what happens when they're not against Buffalo. They played like crap, plain and simple. Let's hope that they are able to get some rest. Honestly, if they could just do that, just get some rest and recharge a little bit, they can do that. I think they're already going to be in a much better position tonight against Minnesota than they were the other night against Buffalo. If they could get that rest, I think they'll be in good shape because they definitely have what it takes to beat Minnesota. They do. We know how good this team can be defensively. We know they could shut down that offense. Heck, look at that game against the Panthers last week. How good the Panthers are offensively, and Kochekov had a 44 save shutout, I believe it was, against the Panthers. We know they can do it. They could 100% can do it, but that's going to be remains to be seen. Do they do it tonight? Are they able to get that rest? Can they come out and be on their A game defensively? Can the offense start to bounce back some? They're going to, that's all going to have to remain to be seen because we can talk about it all day long. Will they do this? Will they do that? I don't know. But one area they do have a very big advantage in is the battle that'll come between the Hurricanes power play and the Wild penalty kill. That is a massive mismatch. And we will talk about that right after this quick break, folks. Once again today, folks, our sponsor is Camino Consulting. You've heard of their online families and couples seminars and taken advantage of the locked on 25% discount running to the end of the month. But what about the live seminars? In both sport and business, the challenge in differentiating candidates and recruits in an endless battle. Everyone can demonstrate their measurables and qualifications, but we all know it is the intangibles that matter when things are the most similar. Contact Camino Consulting for their team and management seminars to get a peek behind the curtain and watch your next recruiting class or hiring group become one of the most effective you've ever seen, both because you identified the right candidates and because you learned how to communicate and motivate them in accord with their own preferences. But you are in the business management or working with a team. We pay referrals, make some money making your workplace and favorite teams better. Every group works together better at the end of the year rather than week one. So contact Camino Consulting at caminoconsulting.ca and get on the fast track to understanding. Now, keys to the game tonight, folks. A massive one is going to be winning the special teams battle. And I know we say this all the time, like, oh, gotta win the special teams battle. But this one's different, folks. This one's different. Because the Minnesota Wild have the worst penalty killing unit in the Western Conference. At 74.4%. Is the Western Conference's worst. So the Hurricanes obviously have a tremendous power play, and we're going to take a quick look to see what the updated stat on that is, because obviously it has changed since we talked about it last. But the Hurricanes on the power play currently sit at number 3 in the league at 27.5%. And just out of curiosity, the Minnesota Wild ranked 13th on the power play at 22.6. So, yeah, they have a massive advantage there. And just overall, the Wild penalty kill is ranked 29th in the NHL, with only Ottawa, Montreal, and New York Islanders being worse. So, they really got to be on their A game. Uh, Tonight, yeah, on the power play, they've scored power play goals in 3 of the last 4. Marty Necas, got one in that loss against Buffalo. So, yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about that, of whether or not they can. Obviously, anything can happen. We could, totally just have a game where Minnesota is the best penalty killing unit in the NHL. We could totally have that. And the Hurricanes power play is the worst in the NHL. We could totally have that. But the Hurricanes have a massive advantage there. They're going against the Western Conference's worst penalty killing unit. I think they need to be on their A game when drawing penalties tonight. Obviously, Minnesota's going to know that. They're going to know, oh crap, we're going against the one of the top power play units in the NHL. We're going against the third best power play in the NHL, and we have one of the worst penalty killing units. They're obviously going to be looking to limit their penalties tonight. So the Hurricanes really got to be on their A game of getting under the Wild's skin and drawing those penalties. This is going to be a game where a guy like Michael Bunting, a guy like Tony DeAngelo, I doubt he'll be in the lineup, but a guy like Brendan Lemieux, again, I don't think he'll be in the lineup tonight at all. Lemieux being, but say for whatever reason he is in the lineup. Those are going to be guys that you're more like, hey, go out there, get under their skin. Don't be an idiot. Don't get called for penalties and make us go on the kill. But be good, getting under their skin. That's going to be important for the Hurricanes. Like, get under the Wild's skin. You brought in these pests to get under team skin. Get under their skin tonight. You have a clear advantage in this battle. Get under their skin tonight and take advantage when you are able to get power play opportunities, take advantage of them, go down there, score on them, and even if you aren't able to score, build some momentum off of it, take it back into even strength, and yet still just keep that momentum going. If you aren't able to get anything going on the power play, build momentum on them. If you aren't able to score, that's going to be important for them tonight. Win that special teams battle again. Yeah, also, as we mentioned earlier, shutting down Kaprizov is going to be really important. We talked earlier about just how good he's been as of late. So they're going to have to shut him down again. He's definitely going. I definitely imagine Jacob Slavin's going to be having his eyes on him, with Slavin being one of, if not the best defensive defenseman in the league. So I definitely think, we're going to be seeing a lot of guys, just shutting down Kaprizov, whether it be Slavin, Svechnikov, Stahl, these are guys that are really good defensively. So you're probably gonna be seeing them, all over him. Yeah, and the Hurricanes just as a whole, I just feel like they're going to be all over Kaprizov tonight. I feel like they're not going to give him much of anything, but in that they do need to be smart of not just, like, have everyone over here on Kaprizov. He's able to get the puck out to this guy over here, and there's no one. Let's not have something like that, because we've seen that before. They make that sort of mistake, because we've seen it again. We've seen it before where they make that mistake and it costs them. It can cost them. We've seen it before, so that is something they do need to be smart about also. But yeah, shutting down Kaprizov, winning those special teams battles, and again, I am going back to my biggest one of this game. They need to wake up and be well rested. That is the biggest thing with this game. If they can be well rested, or as well rested as they can be, I should say, I think they'll be all right in this game. That was in my opinion, the biggest thing that cost them in that game against Buffalo is they were exhausted. The 3 games and 4 nights cost them there. And if they can be, more rested than they were, I think they'll be okay. And then again, just play a really good game defensively. Take advantage of the mismatches that you have on special teams. And they do that, I think they'll be all right. Again, I think Kochetkov, he's going to be the guy in net tonight for the Hurricanes. I just feel like, the way rotation is, I see that happening. Again, I don't necessarily think they're going to do any sort of lineup shakeups or anything like that, barring Jalen Chatfield coming back to the lineup, which I don't see happening. I don't think anything's going to change in terms of lineup. I know I mentioned Lemieux. I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening unless there's something we don't know about. So, yeah, get under their skin tonight as well. Get under the Wild's skin. Wake up, be well rested, play a good defensive game, shut down Kaprizov, and win those special teams battles. They can do that. I really think they stand a strong chance of getting back in the win column and getting things going the way they need to go, because we are going down that stretch. Trade deadline's a few days away. And then once that happens, it's all everyone's focused on the playoffs. And they are really going to have to be on their A game, winning games they're supposed to win. Yeah, that game against Buffalo probably should have been, obviously, going into that game, I should say, they're supposed to win that game. Obviously, things did not shake out that way, but you need to win games you're supposed to win. In my opinion, this game against the Wild is a game that they should win. The Hurricanes are one of the top teams in the NHL. They are number 2 in the Metro. And the Minnesota Wild are sitting at 6th in the Central Division right now at 28, 24, and 6 and 62 points. Now, if the playoffs were to start right now with Minnesota, I don't think they'd be anywhere near being in. Yeah, they're, in terms of the wild card seeding, they're number 4, there. Yeah, they're behind, St. Louis, Nashville, and LA, with LA being that number 1 wild card, 68 points. Like, they're a little ways back right now. So this is a game they're supposed to win. So go out and win it. Plain and simple. Yeah, it's the same, against, yeah, yeah. They got to win these games they're supposed to win. Plain and simple. Same against the Blue Jackets. That's a game they are supposed to win. Yes, Columbus is not good. They are the last team in the Metro. They are the last wild card team. They are Columbus is the last team in the Eastern Conference and the fourth to last in the NHL. So that's another game. They are supposed to win that game. This game against Minnesota, yes, Minnesota is nowhere near as bad as Columbus, but this is a game they are supposed to win. They're well rested. If they can be on their A game defensively and win their special teams battles, I think they got this one, plain and simple. And we'll just have to see what happens tonight, folks. We can sit here all day, talk about what they need to do, but they still got to go out there and do it tonight. So make sure you are following along at LO_Hurricanes, myself at Jared Ellis _96. Go subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment over there as well. And as always, folks, let's go Canes.